What's up guys, it's your favorite QB coach. Welcome to video number 7 of this FlightScope setup tutorial series. In this video, we're actually going to be going over some of the miscellaneous data points that we didn't talk about in the previous videos. So without further ado, let's go do this thing. So let's hop into the first data point, and that is going to be V swing. So if you've been on TrackMan, you probably also heard it been called as vertical swing plane. It's also very close to swing plane as well. They're pretty much identical in that regards. So let me kind of give you the basic explanation of what is V swing. So V swing is really just tracking kind of the sweet spot and then what type of angle it's making relative to the ground or the horizon. Maybe a simpler way to think about this, and this is not 100% correct, but if you think about the lie angle of the golf club, like a driver has a 45-degree lie angle, let's say a wedge has a little bit more on the higher side, let's say it's 60 degrees, somewhere around that range. This is kind of what you can think about when you're thinking about vertical swing plane. So are you raising the handle when you come into the golf ball? Are you lowering the handle? That's pretty much what V swing is. Now, it's not 100% correct, and I know that if there's some instructors watching this video, they're going to get all pissy, whatever. I know it's not correct, but that's the easiest way for you guys to think about it and apply it when you're out there trying to work on your games. So when is this applicable? Well, if I said in a lesson that you have a pretty high handle delivery, this could be a great data point for you to check to see if you're actually getting a lower handle delivery. And the best way that you can check this is, let's say you're hitting a driver, which should typically be about 45-degree lie angle. If this number says 59.8, like this number, that's a really high handle, right? That's 14 degrees higher than 45 degrees. So that would show you that, yes, you are still having a high handle, and then it's just another way that you can check to see if you're doing it or not. More rare occurrence, if you have too low of a handle, let's say it's a 45-degree driver lie angle that you're hitting, and your VSP or your V swing is going to be like 32 degrees, which would be really, really low, then you'd obviously be trying to raise that handle to make sure that you're not getting so low of a handle. Again, it's just another way for you to track it. In terms of manipulating it, it's something that we have probably already talked about in the lessons on how to lower the handle or raise the handle depending on your situation. So you should already know that. Let's go hop into the next data point. So the next data point is going to be H swing, which if you've been on TrackMan, it's called swing direction. Really simply put, it is going to be the direction that the sweet spot is traveling at low point, right? So wherever the golf club reaches its lowest point in the swing arc, that is when H swing or swing direction is going to be measured. So now, with irons, if your low point is ahead of the golf ball, typically, but not always, typically you're going to see an H swing that's going to be to the left of the target line, because again, the low point's ahead of the golf ball, so by the time that the club gets to that low point, it should be probably moving off to the left of that target line ever so slightly. Now, does it have to? Absolutely not. I've made some YouTube videos as well as some Instagram videos on this where I actually had a swing direction with an iron or an H swing to the right of the target line and hit really functional shots. All that really means is you're probably going to have an in to out club path. If you get the face to target or the face single matched up to that, like we've talked in previous videos, you're going to be okay. You're going to be able to still hit a really functional draw. But again, H swing, that's kind of the basics of it. So with driver, another thing to think about with H swing, because it's going to be probably measured behind the golf ball, unless you're hitting with a downward blow, which some of you guys might be doing that out there. But if you are hitting the driver more so the way I like to teach my players, especially if you don't swing it fast, that low point should be behind the golf ball, which means the H swing is going to be measured behind the golf ball, which actually typically means that the H swing is actually going to be towards the inside part of the golf ball or the left part of the golf ball, which means it will be typically out to the right. Not always, doesn't have to be, but again, that's going to be pretty much the standard. So just think about it this way. If your low point is ahead of the golf ball, typically your H swing will be left of the golf ball if you have a pretty neutral path. If your low point is behind the golf ball, then typically your H swing is going to be a little bit more out to the right, again, if you have a pretty neutral path. This is all relative to angle of attack, and it gets kind of complicated, which I don't want you guys to worry about. But again, that is just H swing. So for a lot of you guys out there that's practicing, just focus on club path and just focus on face to target. Don't try to bog yourself down with H swing. That's more something I can worry about. But for you advanced players, and if we talked about it in the lesson and you know how to manipulate it, go ahead, track that number, and you probably already know what to do. All right, so the last one is horizontal launch. So this is really just showing kind of the initial launch of the golf ball. Did it launch a little bit left of the target line? Did it launch a little bit right of the target line? It's measured in degrees. This current shot that this player hit, it was 1.1 degrees to the left was the initial launch of the golf ball. So again, this is just something to see, okay, it looked like my golf ball started left and then faded. If you kind of are wondering, you're like, I don't really know where it's kind of starting, each launch is going to tell you where the golf ball is starting. If it's 1.1 degrees to the left, it started left of the target line. If it's 1.1 degrees to the right, it started right of the target line. Now that's pretty much all the data points that you're going to see on FlightScope, and hopefully you got some basic definitions of all of them, as well as maybe some ways to kind of apply them. We're going to be making future videos where we actually start having myself hit some shots, demonstrate how to manipulate the numbers a little bit more, but that's going to be a little bit later on. So if you're one of the first people who are buying this FlightScope rental program, you're probably not going to have access to those videos. I apologize, but hopefully we've given you enough information in the lesson that you had with us to not be able to really need it. But if you're watching this in the future, you probably will see more links down below in the confirmation email to where you can now access those videos, and you can actually see me kind of walk through and give you some more explanation on how to hit certain shots. But without further ado, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you guys are watching in the future, I'll see you in the next video. If you guys are one of those early adapters of this rental program, go ahead, practice well. I hope you do well. If you have any questions, make sure to email us at kiwigolfjapan@gmail.com. Play well, practice well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.